Is it our shared biology, our capacity for empathy, or our selective choice and worth that determines our equality and compassion? Hello, my name is Wyatt Packer, and today I'm going to be going over Philip Dick's book, Do Androids Dream of Electronic Sheep? The topic I'm going to be covering on today is what is considered human. First, I'm going to go over the underlying theme of the book. The underlying theme of the book is essentially our character, Rick Deckard, is a bounty hunter for the Los Angeles Police Department. His job is to hunt replicants, who are synthetically bioengineered humans. These are some of the main points of the book that I wanted to cover. Humanity has evolved to create human replicants identical to that of human. These replicants were made to be slaves, servants to humans. Humanity has evolved so far that they eventually migrated to Mars to escape kind of the deterioration of their Earth. Rick Deckard is a bounty hunter for the Los Angeles Police Department, and his job is to be paid to eventually hunt kind of revolting replicants who kind of disobey. This is a quick similarities and differences chart that I kind of made on the replicants and humans. You can kind of see that humans are born, replicants are biologically made. Replicants only have a lifespan of about 4 years, unlike humans. And then replicants actually have an increase in physical and neurological ability, which you could make the argument that replicants are almost the higher life form compared to humans. So these are just some of the similarities and differences. So addressing the ethical problem. Rick Deckard eventually has to face this kind of moral consideration where he asks himself, what makes it ethically okay for me to kill a replicant rather than that of a human when they're almost nearly identical? If you were to walk past a replicant on the street or talk to one, you would have no idea. They're essentially almost the same as humans. I want yourself to ask yourself some of these questions. What makes us human? What makes it ethically okay to kill animals or lower life forms? And then what makes us empathetic? These are kind of all major points that are discussed throughout the film and are essentially focused on Rick to kind of help him come to the realization as maybe what I'm doing isn't ethically okay. So kind of more of the dilemma in depth. An important aspect of the book is the evolution of replicants. Replicants only have a 4-year lifespan because after that 4 years, they start to evolve. They start to develop kind of free thinking, empathy, emotions, and quite possibly even the ability to reproduce. So the Tyrell Corporation is a corporation who makes these replicants, and their kind of stance on this is because replicants cannot reproduce, they can't be treated as equals. They can't be treated as human beings. And that's kind of the stance that majority of this dystopian world has taken on the matter. So this kind of raises the question, if replicants can feel and act like humans, should their artificial origins make them any less worthy of moral consideration? I mean, essentially, yes, they are born in a laboratory, but they're able to feel the same things that I feel, they're able to look the same way that I feel, and they're actually have increased physical and neurological abilities, which they make it better than us. So one of the characters in the story, his name is Phil. He is a bounty hunter alongside with Rick from a family department, and they run into each other while looking for a revolting replicant. And kind of through this hunt, Rick kind of realizes that Phil himself is a replicant who doesn't know. So he administers this thing called an empathy test, where he measures the amount of empathy that a person kind of has towards different things. He figures out that he's a replicant, and then he tells him. And then he tells Rick, he says, essentially, if I were to go and shoot you right now, would you still argue that we're not equals? Or would it even matter because you would be dead? And I think this is a kind of a minor point in the book that they didn't really point out a whole ton, or they didn't focus on, that I thought applied to us in this real world very likely. I feel like among different races, different genders, different minority groups, a lot of us don't view each other as equal. And at the end of the day, we're all have the power and the ability to do the same things. We all have the ability to take a life. We all have the ability to achieve vast knowledge. So how does that not make us equal? And then I kind of just want to go through some varying philosophies that I think we discussed in class and that I think portrayed to the book very well. Utilitarianism, is a reasoning might argue that this concept, if the majority benefits, but it conflicts with the suffering of the autonomy of replicants, should the utility of the majority outweigh the rights of a few? So kind of going along with the idea of, if this does benefit the majority, which it does in the book, I mean, they've been a huge benefit to humanity in total, would it be ethically all right to kind of just put aside their own equality and their own virtues to benefit society as a whole, essentially? And then deontology. From this perspective, replicants' treatment could be condemned if they are rational beings deserving of inherent dignity. So this is kind of the idea that, like, we walk the same streets, we communicate with each other, there's essentially no noticeable difference among each other, so they should kind of have inherent dignity, like those that we give animals. We give dogs inherent dignity because of the way we treat them versus that of like a rat or a small mouse. Then virtue ethics. A virtuous person might argue that humanity's treatment of replicants reflects moral fallings as it disregards their potential for shared virtues like courage or loyalty. And then lastly, my kind of personal interpretation take of this would be that essentially, since these replicants are able to have cognitive thoughts, they are self-conscious, they have emotions like we do, they should be treated as equals, regardless of how they were made, how they were born. If they're able to feel the same things that we are, and like I said, they have increased physical and neurological abilities, there should be no reason that they should be treated as lower life forms compared to us, especially for such horrible things like slave labor. Like, this should definitely be a no-brainer that they should be treated as equals, regardless of if they're synthetically or biologically made, because they're able to absorb information and essentially incorporate all the things that make us human within themselves. And yeah, so I hope this presentation kind of helped you understand a little bit more about kind of what makes us human and what we decide deserves empathy and compassion. Thank you very much.